Good morning, everybody. You are watching the Patriot Preaches. My name is Ashwantachari, and today's gonna be a good show because I have 3 viewers. My cousins actually came over from Canada and they're watching, so I might be a little giggly at times. I'm gonna be a little exuberant. I'm gonna be flamboyant today. I'm gonna be a little I might start laughing halfway because some of these guys make me laugh. They do some questionable things, right? So they're in the living room right now, and if they laugh, if they do some, stupid shit. I might go off topic, but other than that, we have a big show today. Israel did strike Syria, right? They strike Syria's defense ministry near the presidential palace in Damascus, right? So today's July 16th. These guys are laughing in the background, right? I hear them, but it's whatever. I have 3 viewers, so I appreciate it. So today, Israel launched heavy airstrikes against the Syrian government targets on Wednesday, hitting the Syrian Defense Ministry and near the presidential palace in Damascus. They killed at least 3 people and wounded 34. The heavy Israeli attack came despite a U.S. push to reach a normalization deal between Israel and the al-Qaeda-linked Syrian government that took power in Damascus following the regime change that ousted former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad in December 2024. According to a report from Axios, Israel carried out the airstrikes despite pressure from the U.S. to stand down, which was conveyed by the U.S. ambassador to Turkey from Tom Barak in call with Israeli Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Demmer. "We told the Israelis to stand down and take a breath," quote, a U.S. official told the outlet. Right, and you can see the story unfold on Al Jazeera News. Israel carried out the airstrikes following clashes in the southern Syrian city of Suwaida several days ago. Fighting broke out between the Druze minority and the Bedouin tribes, with forces from the HTS-led Syrian government intervening on the side of the Bedouins and also committing summary executions of Druze civilians. And Israel is leveraging the Druze civilians to fight against the new Bashar al-Assad regime, which is an Israeli militia-controlled regime, right? They overtook it, and now they're utilizing the Druze to leverage their attack on Syria. Because the Druze are not, they don't identify themselves as Muslims. They are of a different type of Muslim, right? And we can talk about the Druze a little later, but let me get through this story first, right? Israel Defense Minister Israel Katz justified the heavy strikes in Damascus by claiming Israel was looking to protect the Druze. This is what I was talking about. They're utilizing the Druze to justify their attacks. It's the same thing what happened with Fordo, right? They justified, what was it, nuclear proliferation, nuclear enrichment. Same thing in 2003, Netanyahu justified his attack with nuclear weapons, nuclear weapon enrichment, that Iran was enriching nuclear weapons. Right? We already know that they have them, but what they don't want is they don't want anyone else to have them. Israel can have the nuclear weapons, but they cannot, because they want hegemony. They want to carry out the Oded Yunon's plan for the Middle East. Right? That's what it all comes down to. And once they take control of the Middle East, then they're gonna move on to China, our arch nemesis, and then they're gonna they're gonna side with China. They're gonna suck us dry, side with China, and then they're gonna we're gonna be at a very disadvantage. We're gonna be at a disadvantage basically, right? Quote, "The warnings in Damascus have ended. Now painful blows will come," Katz wrote on X. Right, the IDF will continue to operate forcefully in Suwaida to destroy the forces that attacked in Druze until their complete withdrawal. According to a report from Israel's Channel 12, Israel's planning, quote, "a prolonged military operation in Syria following the Damascus attacks." Israeli strikes were also reported in Suwaida and in the countryside of Daria, which is also located in southern Syria. And this is also similar to where the Golan Heights are located at, right? Golan Heights have a majority population of Druze, right? Which are not mostly Syrian, they're mostly Druze, right? So there's a demographic difference, right? In Syria, there's people who are siding with the Israelis and people who are siding with the new Assad or the new regime change in Syria. While Israel is framing its attacks as a support for the Druze, Israel's real motive is likely that it doesn't want to agree to a normalization deal with Syria, since it would have to give up territory as it has captured in its invasion of southern Syria, which was launched after the ousting of Assad. Right at the time, Israeli Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu celebrated the regime change and took credit for helping it set in motion. The new Syrian government, under the leadership of al-Qaeda leader Ahmed al-Sharia, has been very differential toward Israel and has not launched any attacks on Israel, despite the invasion and frequent Israeli airstrikes against Syrian territory. Damascus has also been engaged in talks with Israel about a normalization deal. And this normalization deal that has been planted in the press is really just another psyop, right? They always plant stories in the press to get you to believe that there's a 5D chess plan going on, right? That if you keep believing that they'll come to a ceasefire, a deal, which is not true, right? They're just trying to prolong this war. Israel just wants regime change. What is it? What's it called? Nuclear hedging is what they call it. And we can go to Axios, right? Let me see. We got hold up. Yeah, so that's about it for that's the story for the Israeli attacks. Let me see if I can find something picture for you guys. Jeez. We could talk about who the Jews are actually. See. Okay. Okay, so the Druze are followers of the religion that is an offshoot of Islam, right? They're spread between Syria, Lebanon, and Israel. So their demographics is pretty diverse, right? They're in three countries. Following calls in Israel to help Druze in Syria, scores of Israeli Druze broke through the border fence on Wednesday, linking up with Druze on the Syrian side. A Reuters witness said Bibi Netanyahu said that the Israeli military was working to save Druze, and this is where the justification comes in. The fake plan, the cloak, behind the real ordeal, the real regime change. They mask it. They try to hide it. They try to hide the real intentions behind, you know, defending the Druze, but that's not really the case. So they're lying to all the normies. All the normies are, these guys are eating this shit up in the press. Oh, they're trying to save the Druze. No, they're not. They're trying to save themselves because these Israelis are only loyal to their country. They're loyal to their people. They're loyal to their religion, Judaism, right? And they urged Israeli Jew citizens not to cross the border. The Israeli military said it was working to safely return civilians who had crossed, right? And on Tuesday, a Reuters reporter said that they had seen government forces looting and burning homes and stealing cars and furniture in Sweden. One man showed the reporter the body of his brother who had been shot in the head inside their home, right? A Syrian government statement on Wednesday said that those responsible for lawlessness in Sweden would be held accountable. It said that the government was committed to protecting the rights of the people in Sweden. Sharia has repeatedly promised to protect minorities. And now the question is, will we get involved in this war, right? Which is pretty we might get involved because this is the same thing that happened, right, with Operation Rising Lion in June 13th. I'm pretty sure we got dragged into the Iran war, right? We came in, we sent missiles, and then we went back. Now Iran does not trust us, right? So they're what they're trying to do is Israel's trying to get every single Middle Eastern country to turn against us. That is the ultimate plan. Let's see. Okay. Right, Mr. Al-Assad was a loyal ally of Iran and a sworn enemy of Israel, right? But the rebels who ousted him have opened contacts with Israel in recent months, mediated by the United States in a bid to lower cross-border tensions. Shortly after the Israeli airstrikes on Damascus, Syrian authorities announced that a new ceasefire had been reached in Sweden with local leaders. Later, Secretary of State Marco Rubio said on social media that the United States had worked with all parties involved in the clashes and had agreed on specific steps that will bring this troubling and horrific situation to an end tonight. However, the flurry of diplomatic activity appeared to do little in the halt of Israeli strikes as night approached. And this is where Israel has us in a chokehold on a chain. You know the GTA, that one cover where he has the dog on a leash? Yeah, that Israel is the person and we are the dog because these guys are attacking without our permission, even though we are allies and we should make joint decisions when we attack. We have no ability to control them, right? Netanyahu is saying "fuck you" to Trump, and he's just attacking without consent, without our notice. We don't know anything, and then we're gonna get dragged into it. because they said, we need to save the Druze. No, you need to save your people, and you just care about your people only. You don't care about America. You are not America first. You cannot trust the GOP. You cannot trust Trump. You can't. And that's why you see it split in the MAGA, right? The Epstein files. We could talk about the Epstein files now. We've talked about the little strike, right? Let me finish up the strike real quick. The attack. Let's see. Right, the fighting in Sweden erupted on Sunday after an armed members of the Bedouin tribe attacked and robbed a Druze man along a main highway. And this is preceding these strikes, right? As the unrest escalated, Mr. al-Shara's government deployed its military forces to the province on Monday to quell the conflict, Syrian officials said. But given deep-seated mistrust of the new government, some members of the Druze militias in Sweden thought that the government forces were coming to aid the Bedouins and attack the Druze. According to Druze militia leaders, a ceasefire announced on Tuesday broke down and clashes erupted again on Wednesday between Syrian government forces and Druze fighters in Sweden. The latest flare up and unrest in Syria underscored the deep challenges Damascus faces in trying to reassert authority across a country still fractured by a complex web of armed groups, militias left over from the nearly 14 years civil war. Right, despite assurances from Syria's new leadership, many of the country's religious and ethnic minorities remain skeptical of Mr. al-Shara, who once led a rebel group that pledged fealty to al-Qaeda. The Israeli airstrikes in the capital on Wednesday caused extensive damage in the heart of Damascus, according to the observatory, sending thick plumes of smoke rising above the skyline. At least one civilian was killed and 18 were injured, according to Syrian's health ministry. And yeah, in March, if we go back to March, armed groups had served in Mr. Assad's security forces ambushed the new government's forces on the Syrian coast, setting a days of sectarian violence that killed more than 1,600 people, mostly from the minority Al-Wati sect, according to the observatory. If we move along to May, more than 39 people, mostly from the Druze minority, were killed over 2 days in a wave of violence near Damascus. Right, and I could probably, let me see if I can find a map. Damascus. Let's see. Bro, it's getting hot. It's fucking hot. Like, I'm sweating. I hate the heat. I've talked about this many times. I hate the heat. Fucking hate the heat, bro. This is why I don't wear the suit. I don't wear the suit because it's hot. Like, my pits get sweaty. My balls get sweaty. It's too much. It's too much. I can't. I can't. And when I sleep, like, bro, it's just like sweat. It's like, I'm like, it's humid. It's hot. And I have one fan in my room to keep me cool. Because you don't want to turn on the AC because that's going to cost too much electricity. So you got to turn on the fan. You know, maybe open the blinds a bit. Because you're in California, right? So it's like, it's too high. Like, I can't, bro. I can't. But, let's see. We got, Damascus. See, yeah, that's my cousin. He's laughing in the background. This guy's gonna make me laugh on the show. So that's gonna. I try to ignore it, but you can't help but hear like this little cunt in the background. We could talk about the Epstein. Let's see. This is 6 minutes ago, so this is pretty recent. Where things stand with the Epstein investigation is that President Trump took aim at supporters who have criticized the administration handling of Jeffrey Epstein. In a blistering social media post, he called the outcry over the Justice Department's decision not to release additional files on Mr. Epstein a Democrat-led scam, and they're trying to portray the blame on the Democrats when it's in reality it's the GOP and the people who are involved with Epstein. Many people who are involved in the government right now are in the files. And this is what happened when I asked Charlie Kirk, where are the Epstein files? He said, yeah, man, we'll get them out. You know, fast forward to now, you know, he's contradicting himself saying, oh yeah, we'll trust in the Trump 5D chess plan. You know, I'll trust Trump, I'll trust the GOP. Same thing Cash, you know, Cash is literally, his girl is, I think she used to be an IDF. what was her name? It's like Cash Alexis Wilkins, right? She's apparently with Mossad, so it makes sense. You know, back in 2023, Cash Patel was saying, "Yeah, we need to get these files out, man." Same thing with Charlie Kirk. You fast forward now, this guy's like, "Nah, bro. I think the files are gone. They're nowhere to be found." So now we know that anyone who says no to the releasing of the files is possibly in them, works for the people that were in them, or part of the GOP, or have dual citizenship, or they have allegiance to Israel. They have allegiance to a foreign entity, a foreign lobby that is not good for our country. What am I? I'm live for 20 minutes. Nice. So, about the Federal Reserve Chair, Mr. Trump confirmed that he had asked the House Republicans about firing Jerome H. Powell, the Federal Reserve Chairman, because he has targeted withering criticism. He said he had no intention of firing Mr. Powell immediately, but he said he would not rule out doing so. Right. And let's see. And this is because during a meeting with roughly a dozen House Republicans on Tuesday night, polling them as to whether he should do it and indicating that he likely would, according to two people briefed in on the meeting. It remains to be seen whether Mr. Trump will actually go ahead with trying to fire Mr. Powell, a move that some of his admin have cautioned could be commodious and have far more expansive fallout than the president appears to anticipate. Right. Speaking from a separate meeting in the Oval Office on Wednesday, Mr. Trump confirmed that he had queried House lawmakers about whether he should fire Mr. Powell, but he said he had no imminent plans to do so. Mr. Pulte has been highly critical of Mr. Powell in recent weeks and has called on him to resign. He did so again on Wednesday in a series of posts on X shortly before Mr. Trump spoke. Right, Mr. Pulte has also emerged as an aggressive force, the Trump admin targeting some of the president's perceived enemies, such as New York Attorney General Letitia James and Senior Adam Schiff on California Democrats who were involved in investigations into Mr. Trump. So this is all a psyop being planted into your mind, right? They're making you think Democrats. This is a Democratic scandal. This is a Democratic problem. This is a foreign entity, and this is a GOP problem, which is what I want you to understand, right? This has nothing to do with the Democrats. This has everything to do with everyone that is in the Trump admin, right? People like Kash Patel, people like Marco Rubio, people like Trump. He does have good intent, but he's shackled, and I'm starting to lose faith. We're all starting to lose hope, right? And that's why you see the divide in the GOP in the MAGA. MAGA is not as cool. Is not as cool as it used to be. It's not cool anymore. You know what? Fuck it. It's just not cool. It used to have aura. In 2016, you wore a MAGA hat. You pissed off some liberal lady. It was cool. Now you're just a dumbass. Now you're a dumbass because now we know who really controls MAGA. We know who really runs the operations. So I mean, we got let's see, do we have live updates on the war? It's not a war, but it's like a strike. Um, Apparently Rubio says, I just saw this. He says the strike on Damascus is likely a misunderstanding. This is another cover up, right? This just shows the allegiance of which these guys have. Like these guys' allegiance does not lie within America; it lies within Israel. Because if it lied within America, we would not be trying to involve ourselves in this war. Like we have nothing to do with this. Yeah, we should have nothing to do with this, but now Israel has put us on a chokehold. And we are doing everything that they say. We are doing literally anything that they want. Ah. Let's see. I'm trying to find a news story up. Let's see. Hmm. Wait, did they kill hold up. Okay, so we have another story. We could talk about this actually. We could talk about the 50-day deadline threat against Putin, and they're saying it's gonna backfire, right? So how Trump's 50-day deadline threat against Putin will backfire, right? The art of the deal will likely result in the opposite of its intended effect on the Russian president. Oh, it's written by a woman. Okay, then I have to actually analyze this because you don't know what these guys are gonna what she's gonna say. Mm, mm, well, actually, she does make some sense, right? It's about the tariffs that Trump is imposing on Russia, but yeah, she is kind of right. What she's talking about is how Trump is imposing tariffs on Russia when we should be imposing them on China, because China is a larger threat, and we do get our most of our rare earths for semiconductors, aerospace parts, airplanes, military sectors, everything related to defense modernization and technology advancement we get from China. So imposing tariffs on China, not allowing them to modernize their technologies, is the best option. Russia, Russia has their own problems, and we barely buy stuff from them. So there's no point in imposing tariffs on Russia, and that's what she's talking about, which I do agree with, because China is a very big powerhouse it's gonna be our rivals. They're gonna be trying to they're undermining us with foreign policy in the WTO. The World Trade Center does not favor us. I hope you know that, right? If you read Ian Fletcher's why free trade doesn't work, he says this. The WTO does not favor us. So anytime there's a dispute, they will take the opposing side, and we have to fight tooth and nail just to figure out our policy, just to get our sanctions straight. So we're at a disadvantage when it comes to trade policies. So we need to set a good foundation. This is why we need people who care about America and not about other countries, because then everything's all over the place, right? We have Trump caring about Russia. We have this guy caring about Israel. We got Marco Rubio. Then you got Peter Thiel about caring about Palantir, right? He's trying to build a surveillance system full of Zionists. It's just too much. It's like we need a full like eradication, a full depletion of the GOP. We need a new candidate in 2028. We need someone that we can rally behind. If Dan Bilzerian runs, I will get behind him willfully, gladly. Right? I will get behind Kanye West. I will get behind some, celebrity figure who cares about America, a patriot, a real patriot. You know, and the best I can do right now is talk to you guys and spread the word, because what am I? I'm like 20. I barely have influence, right? But yeah, that's why I'm going to law school. I'm studying for the LSAT every day. I'm in the library, and I'm doing the test, right? And then there's this one guy, right? I don't know, some kid I know. He takes a picture of me and he's like, Ash want the law, and then he sends it. And then my friend sends it to me, and I'm like, bro, if you can come up to me and you can say hi to me, I'm not gonna fuck you or anything, right? I'm gonna be like, yo, what's up? I'll shake your hand. I'm not dangerous. I'm a very nice guy. Like, people think I'm not nice. No, I'm nice. I'm really nice. I'm really nice. Like, I'm like anyone you have talked to, anyone you've met, right? You can ask them about me. People say, oh yeah, he's a good guy. He's a great guy. He's a kind guy. And then some people, they try to destroy your reputation. It's kind of annoying, but yeah. Shout out my cousins for watching my show right now. They got one viewer or two viewers. So yeah, shout out to them for watching. But I think that's about it for today. So things did develop today. I was talking about how the week was slow. It's not slow. It's we're ramping up. But I think that's about it for today. I think tomorrow I'm not gonna be here actually. Tomorrow I'm gonna be out. Tomorrow Friday I'll be out. I might be back on the weekend, so I'll probably get an episode for you guys on the weekend. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Leave a comment, subscribe. Give me constructive criticism in the comments, right? What I should improve on. If I need a bigger whiteboard. I don't know if one of you guys have said that. One of my cousins said I need a big whiteboard because he can't see. So I'm gonna get a bigger whiteboard so I can draw out maps and stuff, maps and infrastructure during the strikes. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you for watching. Have a